my name is David Carroll with Servant Leaders, and we're here doing a video for Financial Freedom, the seminar. And whether you are a student going through it, just looking to learn, or you are a teacher preparing to teach the seminar, I hope that this video will be helpful for you. We're going through the Financial Freedom Seminar with Servant Leaders, and the course is in the first stage in the life disciplines, and we're gonna just be talking about financial freedom. And the first verse is in Matthew 6:19 to 21. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And as with many issues, we're dealing with the heart here, and we need to have a heart that longs for God, that wants to serve God. And we see that with biblical stewardship, that God has given us so many resources for us to take care of, and we're to be good stewards. Even 1 Corinthians 4:2, which is one of the key verses for this seminar, is moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. So we need to be faithful stewards of what God has given us. And so we're going to look at three basic principles of stewardship here at the beginning. First off, everything I have has been given, not earned. Lots of times we go in with a my mentality. It's mine, I earned that. But the Bible says that everything, Romans 11:36 says, for from him and through him and to him are all things, to him be glory forever. Amen. And then the second principle here, God has expectations for the money with which he has entrusted us. So Luke chapter 16, 10 through 12 says, one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? And so God, basically, he entrusts us with little and sees what we do with it. And those who, not to say that if you have a lot, it's because you've been faithful, or if you have little, it's because you haven't been faithful. But as a general principle, why would God give you more if you're not being faithful with the little that you have? And so we need to be careful with how we manage our money. The third principle, there are commands that guide how I am to use everything that has been placed in my hands. And the Bible gives guidelines and defines clear limits for one to be faithful in handling money. It also makes clear that God blesses those who are faithful. So we need to basically be faithful in our stewardship, like 1 Corinthians 4 says, and manage our money wisely. And so as we manage our money wisely, one thing we should do is education. We need to educate ourselves about money, about how it works, about how it can hurt us or how it can help us, and decide what we're going to do with it. A couple more verses to end this section. Matthew 24:46 and 47. Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. Just like a boss will promote those whom he can trust, so God can promote us if we are trustworthy. And then Deuteronomy 8 gives us a good reminder. And you shall eat and be full, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. Take care lest you forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments and his rules and his statutes, which I command you today. lest when you have eaten and are full, and have built good houses and live in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then your heart be lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And that happens so much with people that they've been given so much and they just forget who has given it to them. They forget God. And we can't do that. We need to remember God, um, even if, maybe we went through a time where we were poor and really needed to depend on God, or we really needed something financially, and God came through, and then ended up, you got a job and you're more financially secure, and you start to forget about God. So if it only makes sense in the relationship with God if we forget Him when uh, we do have enough finances, then why would God give us enough finances? Uh, it's better for us spiritually to be poor. Uh, so that's just something to think about. Uh, a one little thought to end with here: the power of the truth of God enables me to be a good steward. So as we learn biblical principles, and we're going to see a lot from the Bible here during this seminar, um, that is powerful, and learning those principles, it is powerful. All right, we're going to go over 4 aspects of biblical stewardship. The first is to earn biblically. Secondly, give biblically. Thirdly, spend biblically. And fourthly, save biblically. And I think you'll see that the fourth one, I'm going to do a lot more emphasis on throughout the other ones. So, if you think I'm talking a lot about saving, wait. The main emphasis on saving will be at the end of these 4 aspects of biblical stewardship. So we're going to look at how to earn money biblically first. And we're going to look at several principles, 3 different principles. First of all, money is a gift from God that we leverage to maximize our service to God and others. So there's all kinds of ways that you can look at money. A lot of the material I got here today is from the Financial Fitness book by Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward, and they have a book and some audio CDs. But he says in one part, he says there's 10 ways you can look at money, or 10 ways to view money. They're all 10 M's. First is mystery. It's you don't know how. It's if you get rich, it's lucky. Secondly, master, which means that money is your master. You're probably in debt. Or monster is when you're really in debt and you can't get away from it. Others look at it as the major. It's the only measure of success. Others as the motivator. So every money is what motivates them to do whatever they're going to do. Others use money to manipulate. So money is their manipulator to get what they want from others. Others look at it as minimizer. I have enough for now. I have guys that work at construction that, oh, we made money and so we're good, so we don't need to come into work on Monday because we got paid on Friday. And it's like, well, Friday's coming again, and you're going to need, it's going to come money. There's going to be less money coming in if you're not working. Maximizer, it helps you to live to your potential and help others to live to their potential. Others as the monument, their status symbol. And the last one is menace. They use it for a destructive force in life, which I hope is not you. That's kind of sad. But I say that because of this first principle, the word maximize there in leverage. We use the money to maximize our service to God and our service to others. So are you doing that with your money, or is it one of those? Do you view money as one of those um, other M's there? Uh, Verse here from Deuteronomy 8. Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Proverbs 3:9 and 10. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. We need to honor the Lord. What does that mean? What does honor the Lord mean? First of all, I recognize that my work is an opportunity to represent my Lord in front of a lost world. All I do is to testify of who he is. And secondly, I recognize that everything I earn through this work, God has given me to administer for him. I must keep him as the priority over all my earnings. So God is the priority here. If you look at your spending habits, is God in the midst of every aspect of your spending? If you were to graph it in a circle, a pie chart, and could you say that God is in the middle of all your spending, or does God just get that one section of it? Maybe your tithe, maybe a 10% tithe, or maybe a 1 or 2%. I'm gonna give that to God. Or do you look through the lens of God as you look at your money? Um, Principle 2 here. Be an example in your earning through integrity, discipline, and hard work. Never sacrifice principles for possessions. A very good principle there. Don't sacrifice your integrity. Uh, you need to be an example through hard work, through having discipline in earning your money, and through being honest. So many people get money dishonestly, and it really tarnishes that money. Um, and that second part really gets me. Never sacrifice principles for possessions. We just have to realize that integrity is worth a lot more. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. And Proverbs 10:9, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. And you can see that in business. If you're going to call a plumber or a handyman to do some work and he's dishonest with you, are you going to call him again? Are you going to recommend him again? Probably not. But if you find someone that's honest and works hard and is disciplined, or if you go to the store and they say, we don't, that's not going to be best for you, but here's a good place that has what you need. I'm going to go back to the um, vendor that was honest with me, and that's something I appreciate. And so not only is it good for our integrity, but integrity is good for business. I think people forget about that. They tend to live in the moment, live for the moment. Proverbs 12:24 is another verse. The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. So if you're diligent, you'll probably end up being like a manager or a boss someday. But if you're lazy, no one's going to promote you, and the only work you'll be able to get is tough, harder work. Learn to work hard. Wake up early and get a good day's work in. Stick to your purpose in life and achieve mastery in it. If you need to be an electrician, learn it well. Learn to do it right and work with the energy turned off. By the way, if you're a plumber, do it right. Be honest. um, and achieve mastery in it. The author said that it should take about 10,000 hours or 5 years of working 40 hours a week to gain mastery um, in a certain work. And uh, lots of people go from, I live in Brazil, and lots of people just go from job to job to job, doesn't satisfy. But if they learn to do one job well, they could go up on the ladder, on the work ladder. And we need to teach working hard to our children. Um, the author talked about the difference between manual labor and mental labor, and he tried to teach his children that mental labor was more important by how he paid them. He would pay them $20 or $30 for a book report on a book that they'd read, and he would pay them cents and dollars to do manual labor, just to show to them that it's important to put in mental work, to read and study, because that's where you're going to get more money, is mentally. Proverbs 14:23, in all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. Don't just talk, work. When you arrive at work, don't just sit around. Uh, one of my one of the top verses I thought should be in this seminar is Proverbs 6, 6, and 8, that talks about the ant, to consider her ways and be wise, that doesn't have a chief, officer, or ruler. She prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. So the ant is constantly working hard, being diligent, constantly on the move. You don't really see too many ants just laying around. Usually they're going somewhere, because they've learned to work hard, and we need to be the same thing. Don't be a sluggard, slothful. Don't be lazy, but work hard and be ready for the harvest. Proverbs 12:11, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense. And moving on to principle 3, invest in yourself, and your ability to make money will go up. Your brain is the only asset that you have that cannot go away in an economic downturn. So what do? You can do extra courses, learn another language, read self-help books, including the Bible. Read the Bible, learn biblical principles. Uh, the internet is full of motivational speeches. It's full of how to do things, how to think, how to be a better person. Listen to those good talks. Have a mentor, someone you can talk to about your life, and preferably be someone that is where you want to be. So if you want to be a master builder, uh, look to work for someone that's a great builder, that will give you tips, that will open up to you, that will help you. Um, there's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and basically it says get your advice from someone that's rich, not someone that's poor. Get your advice, if you want to be um, a great lawyer, go to a great lawyer to get your advice. Don't go to someone who failed the bar 15 times to learn how to be a great lawyer. Go to someone who's done what you want to do and ask him how you've done it. And it may be worth it to work for him for free for a year, for 6 months, uh, just knowing the knowledge that you'll get. Knowledge is very valuable, and you are the one who invests in your brain. Uh, Other people can't do it for you. You have to choose to do it, to grow mentally. And that's an important principle. Again, Luke 16, one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. And so that's just a little bit about earning biblically. And we are going to go on to the next one. The next aspect of biblical stewardship is to give biblically. And our giving should be generous. Our giving should also be done with sacrifice, because this is the way in which God has shown his love to us, has been generous and with sacrifice. And so our giving should be the same as well. Giving is not just a financial matter, but also spiritual. So it's myself and God involved in this. 2 Corinthians 9:7, the key verse, each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. We shouldn't just, when we see the offering plate, roll our eyes and, oh, this is what we have to do, or, oh man, it's tithe week, I have to give. It should be something that excites us. You should be asking God to show you how much to give, where to give, when to give, and even in some cases, if you must give to something or someone. So get that from God, and you can see by this diagram that once you receive something, you go to give. You give to recognize God, give to spread the gospel, give to the needy. Um, give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, uh, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. So giving always brings up the question of tithe. What's the tithe? Uh, well, tithing was part of God's law for the Israelites, and it was giving back a portion of what He had given to them. Originally, it was 1/10, the first 10%, they would give to God. Um, and it's an Old Testament law, uh, and giving an offering is a New Testament principle, something freely given from a believer to the work of the Lord. And so basically treating it as a principle, and look at, we're supposed to give freely, we're supposed to give generously. I think that the tithe is a great principle from the Old Testament and a great start to giving. 10%, I think, uh, personally, I believe should be the minimum. Give 10%, give offering above that. That's personally what we do, but it's up to uh, your biblical interpretation, and I think that you should always have a giving mentality. If you look at even secular sources on finances, they even say that one should give to nonprofits or give to the needy. Um, that there's something about that's healthy for someone. And so it's interesting that the Bible already teaches that that's healthy. And the New Testament has a principle in 1 Corinthians 16 that says, on the first day of every week, each of you is to put something aside and store it up as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come. So the question is this a tithe or an offering? And you can think about that. Um, I'll let you answer that one. And the next aspect we're going to go to is spending money biblically. Um, and we're going to look at some principles here for spending money biblically. The first one is to start strong with spending by sacrificing. Uh, like I said earlier, saving is one of the four aspects we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about it before we get to it as well. So there should be sacrifice, or delayed gratification. Uh, my generation, in my 30s, my generation thought that they should have whatever their parents had as soon as they got out of the house. So they needed to have the refrigerator, the stove, the TV, uh, two couches, uh, just a very nice apartment, all that, and it ended up getting in a lot of debt. Even with college, there's a lot of debt that comes from that. And so the first principle is to really sacrifice at the beginning to save money. When I first got married, we had some money, not a lot, but we both were working two jobs, and um, so there was money coming in, and we weren't in a high class apartment or anything like that or a house. But we needed, I felt strongly about this that we needed to save rather than just spending whatever came in. And that has paid dividends. Um, if you sacrifice your wants on the front end, you will live more comfortably later. Um, And then if you're having a tough time right now, something you can do is sacrifice as a sacrifice is selling some of your stuff that's valuable to you. And not only will you get a little bit of extra money, but maybe your mentality will change as you go to spend. And you'll say, "Hey, I just sold my golf clubs, which I love those golf clubs. Why would I spend money on a new polo shirt when I already have 10 if I can't have my golf club?" So it changes your mentality. Uh, Haggai 1:6 says, "You have sown much and harvested little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you never have your fill. You clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages does so to put them into a bag with holes." So does your pocket have holes that the money just keeps going out? Uh, you need to sacrifice, uh, sew up your pockets, and work on keeping some of that money, which leads into the second principle, which says spend on yourself and your future first by saving. So your first part of spending, besides maybe your tithe, is to be on yourself through saving money. So put that money in a jar. Um, you're going to get security by doing this. Think about it. If you live on 75% of what you make, so you start saving 25% of what you make, in 4 months, you will have 1 month of financial freedom. In 1 year, you will have 3 months of financial freedom. So if you keep doing that after, uh, see if I can do the math here, after 20 years, uh, you will have 5 years of financial freedom. Hopefully, I did that right. Something like that. So if you want to be comfortable on the latter end, you have to start sacrificing and saving on the front end. And once you can live that way, it's like a snowball, which I'll talk about later, that working in your favor rather than against you. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. So stay away from borrowing and work on earning money. Um, One phrase that I'm not sure if I got in here was it is it is not what you make, but what you keep that determines your financial success. So that's a good. I mean, you could make $100,000 a year, but if you're spending it all, you're not going to be rich. Or you can make $30,000 a year and save a good bit, and eventually be rich. It's not about how much you make. So we have to stop complaining about that. It's about how much you keep. Um, Principle 3. Plan your spending by making a budget. Keep good records. Know what comes in and what goes out. And after these principles, we're going to go over how to make a budget. But Luke 14:28 talks about counting the cost. Uh, See how much you're going to need to live and work on that. Do some calculations. Principle 4, work hard to pay cash and be on the earning side of interest. Do not spend money on IFCOM. Spend it on income. So stay away from financing. Try not to finance anything that depreciates. Besides maybe your house. Your house probably appreciates, but if you and it's probably always it's usually better to buy a house. There are some circumstances where it's not, but it's usually better to buy a house than to pay rent. So if you can do that, buy a house, and that will help. But with as far as getting a TV or appliances and financing it, or even cars, I've heard lots of story of people who drove junky cars for a while until they could pay cash. Dave Ramsey talks about that all the time in Financial Peace University and all his financial talks. Work hard to pay cash for everything. You get it a lot cheaper here in Brazil. If you pay cash, you get a 10 to 15% discount. You can pay for 10 months and pay the normal price, but that just gets you in a hole, and it doesn't work. And I know in the US, there's plenty of people with credit card problems. If you can't pay, I don't think you need to be against credit cards. Dave Ramsey says to cut up all your credit cards. There's some good things you can get from credit card, like cash in your bank account or airplane miles and things like that. But if you can't pay for it at the end of the month or even at the present when you're buying it, don't buy it. Buy it only if you can pay for it at that time. And you should never be late on your credit card payments. That just puts you on the wrong side of the snowball going backwards. One principle you could follow: never buy something more than, say, $200 or $300. You set the amount, it shouldn't be too high, but never buy it without sleeping on it. So you see something in the store and all of a sudden you want that, don't get it. Wait, research it. Have a saving mentality rather than a spending mentality. The spending mentality says, okay, I have to have that. How am I going to get it? The saving mentality says, okay, if I really have to have that, how can I save money in getting it? Is that the best quality item? Should I get something better quality? Can I get something worse quality? Is there another place that has it cheaper? What can I do to save money on this need that I have? Lots of times they're not really needs, they're usually wants, but you need to have money in the bank first, have money saved up, have your insurance there. You can see in this diagram, easy debt, hard to pay back, you go into financial slavery, you go into a hole, and you don't want to be going into that hole. Um, Principle number 5 is to learn contentment. Uh, in the law of contentment, uh, enjoy what you have. Ecclesiastes 5:19, Philippians 4:11. It's a couple verses about learning how to enjoy what you have. Um, kids are a perfect example of this. That have millions of toys, but they want what they don't have. And usually adults are just big kids that do the same thing. They have a lot, and then they want what they don't have, and we need to learn to be content with what we have. Um, Another way to be content is in when you're saving and being stingy and sacrificing. Give yourself rewards for meeting goals. So you don't have to be totally stingy all the time. I think that's my problem lots of times is just don't want to spend money on anything. I've tried to learn that I need to spend some money too, especially on my family. Um, a couple of interesting questions that I heard. Please don't get offended by these, but just something to think about, ponder. Would I rather carry a plastic bag with $500 in it than a Prada bag with $50? Or you can substitute a certain type of wallet. I don't even know what a Shiki wallet is, but uh, would you rather have $50 in that wallet, or would you rather have $500 just in a plastic bag or just in your pocket? Um, Another question, is it better to look like you have money or to actually be financially secure? So, a lot of times we spend money to impress, to show people we have it together, that kind of things. When the reality is we have to live with ourselves. And if you're financially secure, you can feel a lot better about yourself. You can see what happens when you spend recklessly and when you spend wisely. There's debt, there's payments, you're a slave. Um, but when you spend wisely, you save, you pay what you need to, and there's liberty or freedom. Hence the name of the course, Financial Freedom. Next question is, what is a budget? When you're looking to organize your finances, personal budget, my fundamental tool for the biblical and strategical management of my money for the honor of God. It is an itemized list or summary of my income and expenses for a month's time. The budget keeps my income aligned with my expenses, acting as a limit or filter by which I measure financial decisions from myself and my family. So the question is, how do I create a budget? Uh, Step one, discover what your monthly earnings are. So if you get a salary per year, maybe divide that by 12 and make sure it's not doesn't include benefits or money is set aside for taxes. Step two, subtract the fixed monthly expenses. So write down, your monthly offering, your rent, car payments, mortgage, food. Don't forget uh, something for clothing, something for car repair, something for unexpected expenses that are generally expected because they always happen. Um, Step three, subtract the average for other monthly expenses like electric, water, food, and always estimate on the high end. It's always nice if you have money left over, then you have unexpected expenses going out. Make a budget with the money that remains for clothing, entertainment, car repairs, gifts, vacations, etc. Every potential expense must be included, like gas station stops for Snickers and Skittles and M&Ms and such things, and waters. Um, Step 5, record every expense and put the bill in a file marked with the category, keeping your expenses current. The goal is to not spend more than the limit set in the budget for each area. If you do not have a receipt, write one for your own records. Some Dave Ramsey has the envelope system. Says each month you get money, so get it in cash. Uh, get some envelopes together and say, here's what I have this month to spend on food. Here's what I have for entertainment, for gas, car repairs, uh, for um, your monthly bills like your water and gas for the house, electricity, um, and put those in the envelope and spend it when you need it. If you don't have it for the month, you have to maybe take it out of your entertainment for the month or your clothing or something, um, gifts or going out to eat, things like that. But you have to use the envelopes help you to stay disciplined because if you're just using your credit card the whole time, you'll just use your credit card and you won't think about whether or not you have the money budgeted for that. After a month, see if you could live in the black, not going over your budget in any area. That is to say that you lived within your means. And hopefully you have earned more than you spent. And hopefully your first envelope, besides your tithe, is your saving and you're paying your saving. Um, when you start to do things your way, it is a little hard. Um, or when you start to do things God's way, it's a little bit hard, but it gets more comfortable. And it takes time to make a budget or spending plan. Uh, that's okay. Here's something, just a little, uh, something written out. So you see your income on the bottom and then your monthly expenses. And you need to see if it works. And you have to make it work, obviously. Otherwise, you go in debt, and you don't want that. Now, 6 principles that you should remember when you make a budget. First off, do not forget to give your offering to your local church. Galatians 6:6. Let the one who is taught the word share all good things with the one who teaches. And number 2, pay your taxes and your debt always. Pay to all what is owed to them. Taxes to whom taxes are owed. Revenue to whom revenue is owed. Respect to whom respect is owed. Honor to whom honor. So pay what is owed. Number 3, take care of the needs of your family before your own. If anyone does not provide for his relatives and especially for members of his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Number 4, spend less than you earn. Precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it. Number 5, pay your bills and debt on time. Proverbs 3:28, go and come again. Tomorrow I will give it when you have it with you. So just pay it. Number 6, eliminate your debt. That should be a priority for you. Owe no one anything except love. And then we move on to the last and my favorite section, Save Money Biblically. And we are going to look at 5 principles on saving biblically. Number 1, the main reason why most people are poor savers is that we live in a culture that does not practice self-denial. So we talked about this a little earlier with delayed gratification, and here's a verse that has that in it, 2 Timothy 3. Principle 2, it is better to save a little than nothing at all. Try to get something going. You need a saving mentality. If you don't think you can, forget about it. You can. Save a little something. A penny saved is a penny earned. A Brazilian was talking to me the other day about how impressed he was of the emphasis on pennies in the U.S. And someone had said to him, "A penny saved is a penny earned." So apply that principle. Don't waste. Save money. Try to save something. Try to create a financial cushion, saving a little at a time for times of emergencies. This will bring some security during times of emergency. And you want that emergency fund, that security fund. Should be a good rule is to keep 2 to 3 months of your salary in the bank. So if you cannot work due to illness or emergency, you can still provide for your family and pay your bills when you look for a new job. And keep 2 to 3 months is the minimum. Keep it growing. Proverbs 21:20, precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it. Principle 4, if you save money for things you want or need, you can stay out of debt. Learn to wait until you have saved to buy the things you want. Delayed gratification. And again, the verse, the rich rules over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. Do you want to be a slave or do you want to be a master? And it takes money to make money. So get that snowball effect. Start the snowball effect of interest working for you rather than against you. You want to be getting ahead rather than getting behind. And you know that if you've ever been in debt before, it snowballs into more and more until eventually you have the collectors coming, or eventually it's overwhelming. So that's why delayed gratification, sacrificing at the beginning, is so important, because you do that and you can live comfortably after that. And that is what my wife and I did. We convinced ourselves that that was better, and we haven't had as many financial problems as we could have, because we sacrificed on the front end. And I counsel that whenever I'm talking about money with people, and so it's very, very important. Thank you for listening to the seminar, and hope you are able to catch more from servant leaders as well. God bless.